Welcome to the Newtown Big Dreams podcast, an interview-style talk show that's your gateway to the fabulous and fascinating people who relocated to start a new life. Whether you're new to our podcast or your city, our fellow neighbors from across Canada, North America, and the entire English-speaking world share their stories of reaching new horizons and big dreams. So sit back and relax as we navigate in-depth and intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executives, creatives, and anyone who can share their story about their Newtown big dreams. And now, here's your host, Luke J. Menkes.
Sweet Dee.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for coming over on a Sunday. You've only been in Kelowna for a short while. September 2017, you came here. Tell us the story of how you got to Kelowna.
Yeah, so I used to live in Saskatoon. I grew up there, and in Saskatoon, I was a freelance boudoir photographer. And I started that when I was about 21. And when I started my business, I worked part-time at a flower shop. And that's when I knew that I loved flowers. But at the same time, I was trying to build a business, a photography business. So just a part of me knew that one day I would just leave Saskatoon and start a flower business. And then when I was about 27, the opportunity came. My lease was ending, so I kind of sold everything. I had about 6 boxes worth of stuff, and I drove to Kelowna. And yeah, then I started to write a business plan for the flower truck.
So what made you choose Kelowna? Did you throw a dart at a map, or had you been here on vacation?
Actually, I've never been to Kelowna, which is the weird part. I actually went to Japan about 7 months before I moved to Kelowna. I just wanted to take a vacation by myself, and I knew that I wanted to leave Saskatoon. I didn't know where to go. But my really good friend was moving to Kelowna to start a business here. And I never been to Kelowna, but I just thought, I'm going to move there. I'm just going to see how it works.
So your friend kind of told you about it? And I'm sure you went on Google and looked at pictures and stuff like that? Or do you just go totally blind?
Yeah, just totally blind.
So your friend is here?
Yeah, she lives here.
Oh, okay. So she's like, come out and check it out.
Yeah, I would say I came to visit Kelowna middle of August. And when I was here in Kelowna, I went to go look at a house to rent. And then the next day I signed a lease, and then 2 weeks later I drove to Kelowna.
Wow. No hesitation.
No, I just knew that that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So.
I grew up in Toronto, so we had like rolling hills, but we didn't have anything like this. And the first time I spent any significant time in BC was 2008, and I was just blown away by how beautiful and amazing it is. The prairies are beautiful too, but this is totally different.
Yeah, sometimes I forget how beautiful it is, and then people come to visit, and they just will be turning around the corner, and they'll just be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful," and I'll just think, "Yeah, you know what, it is. That's right. I see this every day."
I think it's important to take a little time to appreciate it, because our brains kind of tune it out when we're used to something, seeing it all the time. We kind of forget that it's there.
Unfortunately.
It's true. So tell us some of the big differences between Saskatoon and Kelowna that you've noticed.
You know what? Kelowna to me feels really small. Like Saskatoon is not that much bigger, but I do notice how small Kelowna is, and how small the community is. But I find that to be a positive thing, because you just end up knowing so many people. I've only been here for maybe a year and a half, and I feel that I run into people all the time.
Right.
And also too, the difference between Kelowna and Saskatoon, I find them actually kind of similar in a way. I feel Saskatoon has a lot of entrepreneurs. I feel Kelowna has a lot of entrepreneurs. Back home in Saskatoon, I found that people really genuine and down to earth, and I find that's the same thing here in Kelowna. But I think the biggest difference that I notice is the size of the community is a lot smaller here.
Yeah. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's changed over the years. I came here for vacation in 2004 And before I moved here in 2011, I took several vacations here. Sometimes short vacations. I was living in Nelson for a few years, so it was a 3-4 hour drive. But people always said, oh, Kelowna is very cliquish. It's really hard to get to know people. And I didn't find that to be the case. But I think it has changed from 20 years ago. There's so many people like you and me that didn't grow up here, are here fairly recently. And so when people are in the same boat, it's pretty easy to, you have to talk to somebody. Right?
Yeah.
And there's thousands of people like us that aren't from here.
That's so true. And sometimes I get a little bit frustrated when people say that Kelowna is cliquey, because I do not see that at all. I'm a very shy, introverted person, and I've never experienced clickiness at all. And you're right, there's so many people that have come to Kelowna from different places that also don't know anybody. So there's a lot of people here who kind of need to be open, and, in order to have friends and things like that. So, yeah, I think that whole Kelowna is a little bit cliquey I don't think that's a thing anymore. But again, I've only been here for 1.5 years, so I'm just basing it on my experience.
And I think you get what you focus on, too. People told me that when I moved here, and I thought, there's got to be at least 100 people in this city just like me. So I started a meetup.com group called the Kelowna Social Club. And everybody who signed up said, oh, I'm from Edmonton, I don't know anybody. I'm from Calgary, I don't know anybody. I'm from the coast, I don't know anybody. And so I was right. There was at least 100 people in the same boat. So even if it was cliquey, I was going to find the 100 loners like myself. And when I turned the group over, there was 465 members.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, you get what you focus on. Yeah. So even if it was like that, you can easily find 50 friends that aren't like that.
Yeah, there's good people everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So flowers, have you always loved flowers, or this was something you just kind of realized a couple of years ago?
You know what, when I think about it, I have always loved flowers. I remember when I was in high school, sometimes I would just go to Walmart and just kind of play with the silk floral section. And I did...
Like rearrange things.
Yeah. And I was just a bored 17-year-old. I was like, I don't know what to do.
Did anybody stop you and say, what are you doing?
No.
Are you going to buy that?
No, I feel you can get away with a lot of things in Walmart, to be honest. So, and actually when I was graduating high school, I did get a job at a flower shop, but then last minute I decided to move to Edmonton, so I never worked in a flower shop. But I think the love has always been there. I just didn't quite understand how much I loved it until years later when I did work at a flower
Interesting.
shop.
So I've worked for a florist doing deliveries, but I see the creation and how much work goes into it. So tell us a little bit about it. Like, is it harder than you thought? Is there a lot more to it than you imagined when you started?
Yeah, it's when I was first learning floral design, the only way that I could explain it was like, it's like doing a math equation. You have your vase, and then you need to start with greenery, and then you have to decide which kind of greenery, and then you have to pick filler flowers and just make sure that everything balances, and there's like main flowers and secondary flowers, and that was the only way that I could really explain. It was like, sometimes it just feels I'm doing a math equation.
Right. Well, math is very important, as I'm sure you're discovering when it comes to business.
Yes.
Because if you can't charge, a fair price, and then you're spending more than that to put it together, plus your time, then you got to tweak the math a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's definitely always a learning experience, I'd say.
And do you kind of work from backwards? Like, someone will tell you, I have a budget of $50, what can you do? And then you work backwards from there? Or do you just say, here's the arrangement, now you got to give me $300?
I think that's how I used to do it. I used to ask customers, how much are you looking to spend? But now with my second season coming up, I'm going to start offering pre-made bouquets.
Right.
I just find what I really love about flowers is the end result, the art of it all. And I just want them to go home with a very full, rich arrangement. So I was thinking, well, the only way that can really happen is if I just design it and then sell it to them. And then also have options for different price ranges. But I would say I like to build it first, and then we just talk about how much they want to spend.
Right. So you have a truck.
Yeah.
How does the truck relate to the business?
Well, when I did work at a flower shop, I knew how much everything cost, especially how much it is to lease a storefront. And I did not have that kind of money. So I knew that flower trucks were a thing in the States. And at first I wanted to get an old FedEx truck or something like that and just transform it into this mobile studio. But because of cost, I ended up buying a mini Japanese truck, which is just this tiny little toy of a truck. And and I bought it, and we vinyl wrapped it pink, and then I added the canvas at the back, and that's my mobile studio basically, which I love because it allows me to be at so many different places than having just a storefront where you're just kind of stuck there.
Yeah, you're stuck there, and then like you said, the rent is one of the hugest factors in most small businesses. Well, retail. Anyway, so you'll have to send us a picture of this truck because it sounds amazing. We'll put it in the show notes. But so how does it work? Do you have a location where people come to you, or are you driving around I'm kind of thinking of like the ice cream truck with the bells going.
That would be so cool, actually. But I usually go to the East Kelowna market. That's kind of my little home in a way.
Is that like the farmer's market that...
It's not the huge farmer's market. It's this little artisan market that happens up in East Kelowna at the community hall there.
Right.
And it's
so you park there.
Yeah, and I just park there, park outside. I zip up my canvas, I roll it up, and I have 2 rows of buckets of flowers. And then people just come and they pick and choose what they want. Or
nice.
Yeah.
And in anywhere else, or is that pretty much it? Is that 12 months a year, or is it just spring, summer, fall?
It's May until the market runs from May until December. That I would say that's the main spot. Sometimes I do pick up little locations throughout the year, but I would say if anybody ever wanted to find Sweet Dee's flowers, we're there on Sundays. But yeah, we usually go to like the big market, the craft culture fair. That's always a trip because there's so many people there. But yeah.
Do you have help when it's busy?
No, I don't. When I started the business, I just thought, I'll be okay. I mean, I've always been independent. I ran my boudoir business by myself. So I thought it would be the same. But no, it's different because it's a retail business. So that has definitely had challenges with it. But no, it's just me, which is fun, but it would be nice to have, a few extra pair of hands sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you considered like having an assistant for an hour or two to help you set up, or it's just not quite at that level yet?
It's hard. It's something that I think about a lot, and then the end result, I just think, no, I can do it by myself. But I have learned, I have one friend who's always kind of pushing me just to say, Diane, if you need help, just let me know. So I have reached out to her a couple times, could you help me with this delivery, or could you help me process these flowers? Which at the beginning was very uncomfortable for me because I just felt I had to do everything on my own. But I mean, every now and then I ask for help, but
most of the time it's just you.
Yeah, it's just me.
And so you mentioned deliveries. So do you drive this pink truck around?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's good branding too.
Yeah,
right?
It's amazing because it's just this little pink toy, and it's pretty cool driving it around the city because you notice people's reactions when you're driving, and some people, they laugh, or sometimes they have a very confused face, or sometimes they wave at me and then I wave back, and it's really fun. I love driving that thing.
Very cool. So is it are you still doing the photography?
Yeah, I do.
And do you incorporate that into this business?
Sometimes I do think of having I do think about incorporating it into the business. Originally in Saskatoon, I was doing boudoir photography, which I kind of took a little bit of a break when I started Sweet Dee's Flowers because I just wanted Sweet Dee's to have all of my attention. But now I find that I can do both businesses because each business has their high season, which makes me really happy that I get to do both. So
last week we interviewed Renegade Food Truck, and they're a vegan food truck. And one of the interesting aspects of his business is he takes photography of his creations. So it's kind of fast food, but it's very healthy, and it's presented in a very visual way. It looks amazing. And he has an Instagram account, so he'll make a dish, and then he'll take a photograph and put it on Instagram. The florist that I worked for doing deliveries, they do the same thing. Before I pick it up, they take a photograph and they put it on Instagram. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of people that come to the truck and they always want photos of them at the truck. Or sometimes they want to take a photo of me in the truck, which at first I was always like, no, but then I started to do it. But, but I have thought about sometimes having like photo shoot evenings where I would park the truck, set it up, and then people could book like 40 minutes or so to get photos with the truck because people are going to take photos of the truck at the market anyway. But I was thinking, well, it could be in a much prettier location and you can get a much prettier shot. So I think that's something that I'm looking into offering in 2019 for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You should check out Gooshigan Gardens just over here, a block away, and it's all full of flowers. And a lot of people take wedding photos or graduation photos over there. It's really scenic, and you can park the truck. And you might like that.
Definitely.
It's worth checking out.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know about that.
Do you sell flowers all winter as well?
I did take a little bit of a break in the fall and winter, just because I was just working so much. But in 2019, I'm going to be offering flowers year round, especially fall. Fall and winter is actually like my favorite time to be a florist. So it was kind of sad that I didn't get to do that this winter. But yeah, there's so many markets that happen that, Sweet Dee's Flowers will be at. And then there's Christmas and Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving. So with that, they would more so just be deliveries and popping up at markets than kind of regularly out.
Yeah, I think the deliveries would be great because everybody loves flowers, and I think they're really appreciated when it's kind of dark and gray.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
Covered in snow, and you get some fresh flowers, and it's like, oh, wow.
Yes.
And where do your supplies come from?
I try to buy from the local flowers here in the Okanagan, and then I also have a supplier in Vancouver that also buys from local farmers in the area in the Lower Mainland.
Okay.
So they, when I buy from Lower Mainland, they kind of ship it overnight in a box, which is kind of weird. But then it comes to my door like right in the morning, and then I just kind of process it. And
so do you have like big refrigeration equipment in your house?
Yeah, I used to have, I don't anymore, but I used to have a huge cooler, like a single door cooler where I kept all my flowers. But now with Sweet Dee's moving into the second season, I'm kind of planning I'll get the flowers and then I'll sell all of the flowers throughout the weekend. Whereas before I needed to refrigerate them because I was doing flowers every day. So I used to have a huge cooler in my living room. Not anymore. So probably for the best.
So you try to sell them pretty quickly from the time you get them.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to put together like something basic? Obviously, just grab a few pieces. Like something elaborate, does it take a long time and a lot of thought? Do you do a sketch or do you just know exactly what to do?
That's a good question. I would say it's actually harder to make a smaller bouquet than it is to make a bigger bouquet. Because when you're making a smaller bouquet, let's say you want to make something for $20 and, flowers per stem are like $3, $4. So you can really only have 5 or 6 stems in there. But you want to make something pretty and full for a customer within their budget. So sometimes that's where like the math equation comes in and you're just trying to think, okay, how can I design this and have it just be outstanding. Whereas when it's a huge arrangement, you can just go to town and you can just make it as fluffy as you want. Yeah.
How much lead time do you need if someone says, listen, it's my anniversary coming up. I want to spend $100. How much time do you need?
Well, when it's when we're on our on season, like the spring, then I don't need much time. But if somebody was contacting me maybe in January, I'd probably need about a week or so, just so that I can prep and plan and make sure that I can build something that they want.
Right.
So,
yeah. So you mentioned in your bio that you didn't think a flower truck could work in Saskatoon. Mm-hmm. So what, business-wise, what would be the difference in Saskatoon versus Kelowna?
Well, I'd say with Saskatoon, we don't have a lot of markets there. There's
the outdoor market.
Yeah.
That's a huge part.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a farmer's market, but they only want, you have to be a farmer or you have to grow your own flowers. So that, and I would talk to the city of Saskatoon just saying, would you want a flower truck downtown? And they all said no. So the rules there were a lot stricter than they were in Kelowna. And just with Kelowna, there was just so many opportunities to pop up somewhere at businesses, wineries, markets, pretty much anywhere. So Saskatoon, there was really no market for it. So
right.
Yeah.
So where can we see your truck? Unless we order a delivery, where can we see your truck this spring and summer?
So this spring we'll be at the Craft Culture Fair, April.
That's Southeast Kelowna. That's East Kelowna. Is that
the Craft Culture Fair is at the Curling Club.
Oh, okay.
It's about a weekend. It's just one weekend in the spring. And there's hundreds of artisan vendors there. So we'll be there, and then we will be at the East Kelowna Market for the rest of the season. And we might pop up other places, but for right now, that's essentially where we'll be.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to reach you or to find out more?
I would say I'm pretty active on my Instagram page. I'm always posting things, and that's where the last minute pop-ups come in, or the last minute deals that we have. So Instagram is always a great way to connect.
So if someone searches for Sweet Dee, they'll find you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Very cool. And who would you like to nominate to come on the show? Like, who would you find interesting to listen to with my interview?
I would recommend Stephanie Mackey of Six Letter Creative. I am so jealous of her job. She is a freelance graphic designer, and she just gets to work with so many cool businesses and create like branding for them. And oh my gosh, I would just love to hear her talk more about her business.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoy this beautiful sunny weather we're finally having.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Very welcome.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Newtown Big Dreams podcast with your host, Luke Menkes, and his authentic guests. And we love our listeners and hope you subscribe now to learn more about the amazing journeys of our incredible guests who relocated to find a new town, big dreams. And remember, make your dreams big.